FIDE World Cup is not only the most prestigious knockout tournament in chess, but also hosts 3 spots for the candidates tournament. That's why in today's video we take a closer look at the FIDE World Cup. And it starts on the November the 1st in Goa and has a prize money of $2 million. As I have already said, it's a knockout tournament of 206 players, and the top 50 can sit out round 1, so they start participating at round number 2, while all the other players have to participate in round number 1 as well, so they have a little advantage. Well, as you can see, the time schedule is quite hard, because every 3 days the field is going to cut in half. Until 2019, always 128 players have participated in the tournament, but since post-COVID times, 206 players have been participating at the FIDE World Cup, which means more games, more action. The matches consist of 2 classical games. If no one is leading after these 2 classical games, there will be games of rapid chess, which are 50 minutes plus an increment of 10 seconds per move. And if needed, there are also 2 games of 10 plus 10, and then we change up to blitz chess, and it gets even faster. And then there is ultimately a bidding Armageddon game. That's a new rule, and white only gets 4 minutes, while black accepts the time he wants to play, and then he only needs a draw. So both players bid what time they want to have as black, and the one that bids a lower time gets black and only has to achieve a draw, but of course has disadvantage of having less time. While we have a lot of strong players, there are also a lot of players missing, which are mainly Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Fabiano Caruana, Alireza Firouzja, and a lot more top players. This is mainly because they don't need to qualify, because, for example, Hikaru Nakamura will get an ELO spot quite likely. Fabiano Caruana has already qualified for the candidates, so he doesn't need to play the FIDE World Cup anymore. And Magnus Carlsen, of course, has no interest in playing the candidates, so therefore he also doesn't want to play the FIDE World Cup. And also he has won the last edition, therefore he has no interest of winning the World Cup anymore. Alireza Firouzja, on the other side, doesn't want to play because he thinks that 1 month of playing chess is very exhausting, and he was kind of tired after the last one, so he doesn't want to play anymore this year. And now we already know the pairings for the first round, and therefore I will give you my predictions not only for the first round but for the entire tournament. Let's jump into it. Alright, Gukesh is number 1 seeded, and therefore he doesn't have to play the first round. And in the second match we have Raja Ritwik against Kazabek Nogurbek, and I predict that Nogurbek is going to win this one. I don't know really both of these players, but I have already heard a little bit of Nogurbek. I think he's quite an ambitious player. Then we have the young Turkish prodigy and his girl, who is really striving for glory, against the elderly Grandmaster Igor Efimov, who's now plays for Monaco. Well, I think that the Turkish Grandmaster is going to win. Also, he has the age advantage, being more fit, having more knowledge about theory, so I think his girl is going to win. Then we have Husbands against Frederick Swane. I think this will be an easy match for Frederick Swane, who is going to win. Then we have Sean Sargsyan, who has the privilege to skip round number 1. Of course, next one in match F, we will see probably a win by George Corey. He used to be a little stronger, but now he's still a great grandmaster. Then we have Mustafa Yilmaz against an Indian international master, but still I think Mustafa Yilmaz is a better player. He used to have more than 2600 rating, but he's still a player with a very high reputation. Bu Xiangqi also can skip round number 1, same as Zhang Ji. Then we have the very interesting matchup. It's Felix Bloberger against Konstantin Lubulescu. I both know these players, but this is also a question between generations. Should you think of the younger generation with the Austrian Grandmaster or the elder generation with Lubulescu? I think that Felix Bloberger is going to win this match. Then we have the next one between an Indian and an international master from Peru. And I think that the 2600 rated Grandmaster is going to win this round. Then we have Nikita Vityugov, who can skip round number 1. He only has 2650 rating. He used to have over 2700 rating when he was still playing for Russia, but still he is very good Grandmaster. Same goes for Teodoru, who used to have a little bit less, but he has played some great tournaments, has amazing results, and therefore 2650 rating. Now this one is interesting. We have Indic against Ilyan Snyder. Well, this young man looks like a prodigy, but still a very young one. But still, I think that Alexander Indic is going to win that one. Now we have Nikita Petrov against Kirk Kazarian. I personally believe that Nikita Petrov is still a little bit better, but it's marginal. Yavor Sindarov can skip number 1 as well as Mamedyarov. And now we have an interesting matchup from a Canadian Grandmaster against Gergely Cantor. Well, this one's kind of hard to predict, so I will just guess that the Canadian Grandmaster is going to win after the tie breaks. By the way, if you haven't done yet, you can always subscribe and like this video because it was kind of hard to prepare for it. I've made a whole pairings tree, and if you want to find out who in my predictions is going to win the World Cup, please watch till the end of this video. It's going to be a longer one, but you know, it's kind of a lot that we can predict over here. Now, Etienne Bacro against an international master from Zambia. Well, I think Etienne Bacro is a professional, so he's going to win this game. Then we have Nils Grandelius against a 2100 rated player. I think he will just win 2-0. Now we have Gregory Operin, who can skip round number 1. Then Daniel Dada, who will succeed against the international master from Vietnam. Now we have Azeni Nestorov against a grandmaster from Turkmenistan. Well, I think that Nestorov is going to win this one. Hare Krishna is going to go to number 2 immediately, and Jordan van Forest as well. Now we have again a battle of generations between Suleimanov and Nikans. Well, I think that Suleimanov will win this game. I think he also has succeeded against Carlsen in one game. I think Carlsen later claimed that he was distracted by his watch, but still amazing talent. Suleimanov, therefore, I think that he's going to win the Battle of Generations against Naxans. Then Cristobal Henriquez against Agibilek, and that one is going to be in favor of the Grandmaster from Chile. Now Alexei Serrana is also going to go straight to round number 2. Jose Martinez, of course, against 2100 rating, no problem. He will also go to round number 2. Now Vladimir Ilyich against international master from Kyrgyzstan is also kind of an easy matchup for the first round, therefore he will succeed. Now that one is quite interesting. Diego Flores against a younger grandmaster from Kazakhstan. I think that Diego Flores is going to win this close matchup after tiebreak and therefore will go straight to round number 2. Nodirbek Abdusattorov, an interesting young prodigy with 2,750 rating already, will also be immediately seeded in the second round. Same goes for Wesley So. Then we have Smavikios against Bogna. Well, this one is quite interesting. I personally believe that Bogna will win this match, but it's very marginal, kind of hard to guess. Then we have Aryan Tari, who is also going to overcome his opponent. Same goes for Vibranov. I think I don't have to explain, if you have a professional against an amateur player with 2,200 rating, there is no chance that these amateur players are going to win. Maybe they get draw or something, but they won't win against their opponents in a match. Tai Dai Van Nguyen is also going straight to round number 2. Now we have the matchup between a Cubanian and an Indian Grandmaster, and the Indian Grandmaster is going to win this matchup. Now Niklas Huschenbeet against Bilal Bilasena. That's an interesting one. I know both players. Both are kind of strong, but they're past their prime. Nevertheless, I think that Huschenbeet is going to win their matchup in the first round. Then we have Yakubov, who immediately is seeded in the second round. Same with Alwanda Liang, who I actually was surprised that he has now even more than 2,700 rating. He is also a promising player for the future. Then we have Babu Lalit against Max Wormadam. Max Wormadam also used to have over 2,600 rating, but still, although he hasn't this rating anymore, I think he's better than Babu Lalit, so therefore he is going to win this matchup. Now, Rasmus Swane against Uruguay International Master. I think that Rasmus Swane is going to win this one. Rauf Mamedov, again, being in the top 50, is seated immediately in the second round. Maxim Rothstein, I think I don't have to explain why he's going to win this one. Now we have Sargsyan against an international master from Sri Lanka. I think he will win this one. Then we again have a marginal decision between Ghosh and Pang. I decided for Ghosh, but I don't know these players, so therefore this is just a random guess. Then of course Nepo and Lee. And we have Yobava back on the stage. I was really surprised, and I will probably enjoy his games. Therefore I really root for him and hope that he wins against the Grandmaster from Colombia. Now Daniel Yufa, who now plays for Spain against an international master from Canada. I think that the professional is going to win, and we don't have a win from the underdog. Now we have Jeffrey Jung, who plays against one of the weakest, or maybe the weakest, opponent in this tournament with a rating below 2,000. Of course he's going to win. Dek Bogdan has a free first round. Now we have Suleimanli against an international master from Thailand. I'm not going to pronounce his name. I will make this a mistake. Therefore, just saying that Suleimanli is going to win in the first round. Now we have Kartik against Garcia. Well, in this round I have decided for Kartik because I think that he is just a little stronger player and that he will win the first matchup. Then we have Shicham, who is still a very decent player, seated in round 2, and also Bluebaum. Then an interesting combination, Karen Grigorian against Ahmed Adli. That's a match I will enjoy. Both players are kind of strong, but they're both behind their primes. But still, I think that Ahmed Atli is a little stronger player and therefore will win the first round. Then we have a battle of generations, Levan Patsulala against Sam Luansky. And Sam Luansky is a little better, but still Patsulala has the experience, but I will think that the young prodigy is going to win this match. Now, Alexander Donchenko is going to succeed quite easily. Same goes for David Anton. And now we have Emre Can against Maximovic. And I think that Emre Can is going to win this line. Well, Anish Giri doesn't have to play. The same goes for Pragananda. And again, a match between two young guys, Temur Kutsbukarov against Subel. And both players are very promising, but I believe that Subel is going to win because his opponent, although he's quite strong, is still lacking of some experience. Then we have Hovhannisyan against Mohan, and I think that the Grandmaster is going to win against the FIDE Master. Same goes for the next matchup, which is against FM from South Africa, but I think that the GM from India is going to win. Volodymyr is in the top 50. George Maya is going to win against the International Master from India. Now, the Chinese Grandmaster Xingsh is going to win against the Grandmaster from Egypt. Now, Faustino Oro against Ante Burkic. Again, that's one of these matchups that are very promising. I have really no idea how the young prodigy Oro is going to play against an experienced grandmaster such as Ante Burkic, but I just root for Faustino, so therefore I just predict that he is going to win the first match. Vasily Ivanchuk, of course, winning the first match, maybe his last. Then Sam Shankland is also placed in round 2 immediately. And Dogmus playing against 1979, so that's maybe our weakest player in the tournament. Then Mendonca is going to win against Wong. We have Supi and Galavitz, and I think that Supi is going to win. I think he has more experience against stronger players, and therefore he will win against the International Master from Mexico. Rapport and MVL, of course, are seated. Then we have Ganguly against Amatsada. Well, I have never heard of Amatsada, but I know that Ganguly is a very solid player, and he used to have much more rating, but I think he has still the drill and still the power to win against his opponent in the first round. Then, of course, Haik Matirojan against an FM from Indonesia. And I think Haik Matirojan, as a professional, is going to win this one. Same goes for Artemiev. David Navarra is seated, and we have Alexander Grabnev also probably going to win against a Grandmaster from the Philippines. Now, this one is quite interesting. We have the winner of the Women's FIDE World Cup, and she is going to compete against a Grandmaster from Greece. And I have no idea how this matchup is going to result. I just predict that the stronger player is going to win, which is the Greece Grandmaster from rating. But earlier on this year, Dashmuk has already beaten the Greek Grandmaster, and therefore this is just an open end. I just predict that the Greek Grandmaster is going to succeed in the match. Now the match that is played between Nijat Abbasov against the International Master from Uzbekistan is going to be in favor of the player from Azerbaijan. Nijat Abbasov has qualified the last time for the candidates in the FIDE World Cup, and he had a really impressive run, and therefore I still respect him, his playing style and think that he will be successful in the first round of this year's World Cup. Then we have Idani against Kevin Corey. I just assume that Idani is going to win. Now Dimitri Kolos, a fellow, is going to win probably against the Egyptian FIDE master Salih. Now we have Pranish against Akhmedinov. I don't know both players, but I assume that Pranish is going to win. Now Kovalev against Paul Welton. I mean, Kovalev used to be a very, very strong player, but he lost more than 100 rating points, which is very much for such a young player. And Paul Welton is kind of very solid. Therefore, I just assume that Paul Welton is going to win this one despite being lower rated. Now the matchup between Sergei Lobanov and Karpa Pirun is going to be in favor of the Polish Grandmaster. Amin Bassem against an international master from Zimbabwe is going to be in favor of Amin Bassem. Benjamin Gledura has an easy opponent and will win the game against the FIDE master. Now we are not done yet. You see, 206 players in a matchup is a lot, and therefore it takes some time to speak about every single matchup, but this one is going to be winning by Daneshwar. Alexander Mochilev against Santiago Avila will be an interesting matchup, and this is also one between generations, and I think that Avila has a good chance because Mochilev is not as strong as he used to be, so therefore I just root for the prodigy. Then Paramak Zodolo is of course rooted and seated in round 2. Same goes for Sam Savian. Now the matchup between Laskin and Tin, and I think that Tin is going to succeed. Now in Afini Naja against Rakoto Maharo, so the most famous player from Madagascar, and I think that just skill is going to win and that there is no surprising. Michael Adams is also succeeding against a very low rated FIDE master. Shaparinov is also going to win against the international master from Colombia, so there will be no underdogs winning in this one. Now we have again a battle of generations between Lodiki and Samadov. Actually, I know Red Samadov personally. I think he's quite a strong player, and I think that he will win the first round. Now Gosh against Bartel. Well, both players are kind of strong. I believe that Bartel is going to win this one. Now Salam Saleh against Tang Tu Tran, and I think Salam Saleh is going to win this one. Then we have Mishra being seated in round 2 and Wojciech as well. Then we have Lagarde winning the first match, and the same goes for Alexander Fier. Both players here are kind of strong. It will probably be a tiebreak that will make the final decision. Now, I was really surprised to see Andy Woodward having already almost 2,600 rating, and therefore I think that he is going to win in the first round. Bobby Cheng against Siddharth, and I believe that Cheng is going to win this one. Vokhtov against an international master from Tajikistan is going to win. Also, Maxim Shigaev will qualify to the second round. Now we have Mkhitaryan against Petrov, and I think that Petrov will qualify for the second round, and this is because Mkhitaryan is a little bit older and maybe doesn't have so much energy resources when playing long games. And of course, Arjun Erigaisi as number 2 is already seated in round 2. Let's continue with round number 2. In the first matchup, we have Gukesh against Nogabek, and I think that Gukesh is going to win this round. Well, then the second match is between Edis Gorel and Frederick Swana, and I believe that Swana is going to win because he has much more experience. Third game is between Sargassian and Corey, and I believe that Sargassian is going to win because he is fresher, he hasn't played the first round, and therefore he can play better chess, although he is the underdog. Between Zhang Ji and Bloberger, I believe that Zhang Ji is going to win. Bloberger, after all, is just rated 2500, while Zhang Ji is 2700 elo rated player. Then we have Luna against Vityugov, and of course this game is going to be won by Vityugov. Then next matchup is Teodoru against Indic, and I think that Teodoru is going to beat his opponent in this matchup. Next, we have Petrov against Sindarov, and I believe that Sindarov is going to win this one. Of course, the next one is Mamedyarov against Lemieux, and of course, Mamedyarov is the much more experienced player and has a very high rating, and therefore he's going to be successful. Next one we have Bacro against Grandelios, and this one is quite hard because both players are very good, Etienne Bacro and also Nils Grandelios, but I believe that Nils Grandelios is slightly better, but it's a marginal choice, therefore the Swedish Grandmaster is going to win this round. Then we have Gregory Oparin against Daniel Darda, and I believe that Daniel Darda is going to win this round. Now the next one is between Arseny Nesterov and Hare Krishna, and Hare Krishna is winning in this one. I believe that he is a much more experienced player, has a very high rating, and he has held this rating for a very long time, so he is not on some occasions very strong and on others quite bad, but he holds his rating and is playing strength for a very long time, and therefore he will win against his 100 elo lower rated player. Van Forest against Selemenov, I believe that Van Forest is going to win this one. Now the next one is between Henriquez and Sarana, and I believe that Sarana is going to win. I believe that in the last 1 or 2 World Cups, Sarana had very good results, and he is a very dangerous player. He has already won the European Championship once, and I believe that he is going to be much more experienced and better player than Henriquez from Chile. Then we have Ivic against Martinez, and I believe that Ivic is going to win. Ivic last time was a very strong player, and he has beaten a lot of very good players, and that was extraordinary and was quite feared in the last FIDE World Cup, and therefore I believe that he is also going to play in round 3 after beating Martinez. Then we have Diego Flores against Abdusattorov, and of course Abdusattorov is a much better player. Diego Flores not again in his prime. He used to have 2600, but now he's lower rated, while Abdusattorov, this guy is the limit, and therefore I believe that he's going to win this one. Then we have Wesley So against Bogner. Well, this is kind of obvious. Wesley So is going to win this one. The next one is between Aryan Tari and Pranav. Well, both players are more or less equally rated, and I believe that the Indian Grandmaster V. Pranav is going to win this one. Then we have Nguyen against P. Inyan. Well, this one is also quite hard, and I believe that the favorite player is going to win, which is Nguyen. Then we have Hushenbeit against Yakubov. Well, Hushenbeit is not a weak player, but still he is past his prime, and I believe that Yakubov is going to win this one. Also, he is the much higher rated player, therefore he should win. Then we have Awanda Liang against Warmadam. That's an interesting matchup, but I believe that Liang is going to win this one. Next one is between Rasmus Swane and Mamedov. Well, Mamedov is, compared to Swane, quite old, but I believe that he still got it and that he is going to win against Rasmus Swane. I mean, Rasmus Swane is a very good grandmaster, but I'm not sure if he's that good in these knockout tournaments, and therefore Rauf Mamedov is going to be my favorite for this one. Then we have Rutstein against Sargassian. That's a kind of hard one. I don't really know who of these players are better, but I believe that Rutstein is going to win this one. Maybe because he's slightly younger and has more power in the long run. Then we have Gosh against Nepo. Well, Nepo is a very good player, and therefore I believe that Nepo has no difficulties in winning against this Indian Grandmaster. Next one is Lee against Yobava. That's going to be an interesting matchup as well, and I believe that Lee is going to win, although I'm excited for the games that are played between them. Then Daniel Yufa against John Jeffrey. John is the better player and therefore will be in round number 3 again. Next one is Daniel Bogdan against Suleimanli, and this matchup is won by Suleimanli. Now, matchup Izat is played between Kakek and Shithambram, and I believe that Shithambram is going to win. He has a very good streak right now, and therefore I believe that he is playing even better than his rating is. Now, we have Bluebaum against Atli in the next one. Bluebaum having almost won the Grand Swiss, and therefore I believe that he is in a good form and will win this matchup. Now, the Grandmaster Ivan against Ray Robson. I believe that Ray Robson is the better player. He used to have almost 2,700 rating, but still he is a very good player that can beat his opponent. Now Donchenko against David Anton. In this one, I believe that David Anton is going to win against Alexander Donchenko. I mean, Donchenko is also a good player, but I believe that David Anton has a little bit more experience in playing. Now Emre Can against Anish Giri. I mean, this doesn't need any words. Anish Giri, one of the top players and winner of the Grand Swiss, and therefore I believe that Anish Giri is going to win. Now we have Prag against Subel. Well, this is just easy to answer. Prag is going to win. He is one of my favorites for the tournament overall, so therefore he is going to win this one. Then Hofhannisyan against Sadvani. I believe that Sadvani is going to win this matchup against the Armenian Grandmaster. Now we have Volodar Murzin, who skipped round number 1 against Georg Meyer, and Murzin is probably having more energy in this point in the tournament against Georg Meyer, and he's also the better player, so that's why Volodar Murzin is going to win against the former German Grandmaster. Then we have Xingji against Dubov. I mean, Dubov is right now under 2,700 ELO, which is kind of surprising, but still Dubov, I think he got it, and he will win against the Chinese Grandmaster. Then we have Vidit against Faustino Oro. Although I'm rooting for Faustino Oro, I don't believe that he is going to succeed against this top Grandmaster from India, and therefore Vidit is going to win this round. Then we have Ivanchuk against Shankland. Although I would wish for Ivanchuk to succeed, I have to acknowledge that Shankland is a very good player and he's much younger, so I think that conditional wise he's going to win against the Ukrainian Grandmaster. Then we have Adokmus against Mendonca. Well, I like Adokmus, he's going to win this one. Then Supi against Rapport, of course Rapport succeeding. MVL against Ganguly. Well, I believe that MVL is a better player in this round. Matrosyan against Artemiev is a tough choice. I believe that Matrosyan is a little better, but it's just mainly because Vladislav Artemiev used to be a much better player. In that he lost so much rating points is concerning, and therefore I believe that Hikaru Nakamura is a more stable player and can reach his full potential easier. Then David Narara against Grabnev. I believe that Narara is going to win this matchup. Then we have Kyrgios against Nihal Sarin, and I believe that Nihal Sarin is the better player overall, now being even in the club of 2,700 rated players. Next one is Andrei Isipenko against Nijat Abbasov. Nothing against Abbasov, but I believe that Isipenko overall is a better player. And now we have Idani against Murali. Well, Murali is better rated, but overall I believe that this one is kind of tough. I believe it's going to be decided in the tiebreaks and that Idani is going to win and get his place in round number 3. The next one is Colors against Pranesh. Well, both players are very similarly rated. I believe that Pranesh is going to win against Colors. Now we have Welton against Kayma. Well, it's kind of obvious Kayma will win this one. Now, Wairi against Pirun. Well, Wairi is still a player with a very high rating. He doesn't have that much experience when playing, but still I believe that he is going to be successful. Now, Amin Bassem against Gledura. I really like Gledura as a player, and therefore I believe that he is going to win. Also, he's quite young, and therefore he has more energy and more condition than Amin Bassem. Now, Ivan Saric against Daneshvar. I believe that Ivan Saric is the better player overall, and in the long run that he is going to be successful against Daneshvar, although I have no idea if it's going to be in the tiebreaks or after these 2 rounds. In the next one we have Avila against Max Zotlo. Well, I believe that Max Zotlo is a very strong player. In the FIDE Grand Swiss, which was a very recent tournament, he was very strong early on in the tournament and almost leading, but in the end he lost some games and therefore didn't qualify immediately. But I believe that he is a very interesting and aggressive player, therefore Santiago Avila has no choice than losing against him. Then we have Sam Savian against Tin. Well, I believe that Savian is going to win this one. Next one is Naya gegen Christiansen, and I was kind of surprised when I saw his rating because in my mind he always has been a weaker player, but this means that he had been quite successful this year, and therefore I believe that Christiansen is going to be winning against Naya. Now we have Adams against Shaporinov. Adams, almost retired player you could say, against Ivan Shaporinov, a player not anymore in his prime, but still a very aggressive and concerning player, and I believe that Shaporinov is going to beat Michael Adams. Now we have Hans Moog against Samadov. Well, both players are very young and very committed to the game, but I believe that Niemann is going to be successful after 2 rounds. So the next one is going to be Levin Aronyan against Gosh, and Levin Aronyan, of course, the better player who's going to win. Then we have Salem Saleh against Mishra. Well, Mishra is a very young player, but he has still a very good rating and a good playing style, and I believe that he is going to win against Saleh Salem. Then we have Wojtaszek against Lagarde, and this one is quite tough. I believe that Lagarde is going to win because Wojtaszek is not as good as he used to be anymore, and Lagarde is overall very stable, so I believe that Wojtaszek is going to lose against Lagarde in this one. Next one is Fedoseev against Alexander Fier. of course, Fedoseev is the better player and therefore he's going to go straight to round 3. Next matchup we have Kirill Alexenko against Andy Woodward, and I believe that Woodward is going to win this one. He's almost 2600 ELO rated and he has very good results in the recent time, while the Kirill Alexenko has not played a lot of tournaments recently. Now Bobby Chang against Peter Leko. Now Peter Leko is very known for being the coach of Vincent Keimer, but he hasn't played that much in recent times. Therefore, I believe that Bobby Chang is going to win because he has more playing practice. Next one we have Vokidov against Maxim Shigaev, and I think that Vokidov is going to win. He's a very strong player, and Maxim Shigaev also, as former player, a very ambitious player, but this one is probably going to be won by the Uzbekistan Grandmaster. Now the last one is between Petrov and Eric Geisy, and I believe that Eric Geisy is going to win and go straight to round number 3. Round number 3. Only 64 players are remaining. In the first matchup, we have Gukesh against Swana, and I believe that Gukesh, as the reigning world champion, is going to win this matchup. The second one is Sargassian against Yilmaz, and Sargassian is probably going to win. He's a little bit stronger elo-wise, but also I believe that Yilmaz's winning streak will not be endless, and therefore Sargassian is going to win this one. Next matchup is between Yangi and Vityugov, and I believe that Vityugov, as the underdog, is going to win. Yangi has a rating of 2700, while Vityugov right now has a rating of 2650, but nevertheless Vityugov used to be a little bit stronger, and I think he has a little bit more experience. Next matchup is between Teodorov and Sindarov. Well, Sindarov is a very good player, rated above 2700 rating, and I believe that in the short run he will win, of course, against his opponent from Greece. Then we have Mamedyarov against Grandelios, and of course Mamedyarov overall is the better player, so I believe that he will beat his opponent from Sweden. Then we have Dardar against Hare Krishna, and of course Hare Krishna is slightly better, and therefore I believe that he is going to win this one. Then we have Van Forst against Sarana, and this one's quite hard. Although I believe that Sarana is a very good tournament player, I'm not sure if he will succeed against Van Forst, and therefore I just believe that Van Forst, as a little bit higher rated player, is going to be successful against his opponent. The next one is between Ivic and Abdusattorov, and although Ivic used to have a very good run in the last World Cup, nevertheless Abdusattorov is a much better player overall, and therefore Abdusattorov is going to beat his opponent. Then we have So against Pranav. Well, I believe that So is just the better player, and Pranav may have a chance, but overall I would bet on So on this one. Next game is Nguyen against Yakubov, and this one I believe that Yakubov is going to win. Now we have the matchup Liang against Mamedov. Liang right now being rated 2710 is 60 elos above Mamedov. Also, after this round we have already almost 2 weeks of chess, and therefore I believe that Liang, as a younger player, has a better condition and is going to be more fit. After all, it's an exhausting tournament, and therefore I believe that Mamedov has not enough strength to beat his younger opponent. Next one is Rothstein against Nepo, and I believe that Nepo is going to win this one quite easily. Then we have Lee against Zhong, and this one's quite interesting. Both players are equally rated, almost like 30 elo, just difference, and that's hard tough choice. I'm not really sure which one to choose, Lee or Zhong, and I believe that Jeffrey Zhong is going to win, but I don't know. Next one is Suleimanli against Chithampuram. Well, Chithampuram right now has a very good run, as I have mentioned earlier, and therefore I believe that he's going to win against Suleimanli, but both players are kind of good, and it's very hard to get a good choice on this one. Next game is between Bluebaum and Robson, and Bluebaum as the winner of the FIDE Grand Swiss. I believe that he is going to win against Robson. And the next one is Anton against Giri, and of course I go with the higher rated player Giri. Then our next matchup is between Prag and Sadhvani, both Indian players, but Prag is much more experienced, also against very high rated players, and therefore maybe in the tie breaks Prag is going to win. Then HB matchup is between Murzin and Dubov, and Murzin has a good run of the roll, but I believe that Dubov will win after the tie breaks, but really this is a very marginal choice. I'm really not sure about this one. Next is Kurati, so Vidit against Shankland. Well, I believe that Shankland will win against Vidit. Next one is Erdogmus against Rapport, and although Erdogmus is a very talented player, I think that experience with Rapport is going to win against the Turkish Grandmaster. Next one is MVL against Matirojan. Again, a game between a young prodigy and an experienced Grandmaster of more than 2,700 rating. And I go with experience again, so Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Okay, then we have a matchup between Navarra and Zarin. Well, both players are very good, but I believe that Zarin overall has more experience in playing in the last few years, and I believe that he's a very aggressive player. No, I personally like Navarra a lot. I believe that Zarin will win a direct matchup between them. Now we come to Esipenko against Idani. Well, Esipenko is the better player. Idani is also quite fine with 2,600 elo, but I believe that Esipenko, as a very high-stake player, is more used to strong opponents. I believe that he will overcome the Iranian Grandmaster. Next one is Branish against Kaima, and of course I'm rooting for Kaima on this one. Kaima had a lot of good tournaments, and if he hadn't done a crucial mistake in the Grand Swiss, he would have won the tournament. If you want to find out which mistake he did, just watch the video on my channel. Next one is Yi against Glidura. Yi is 2,750 rated, while his opponent is just a little bit above 2,600, and therefore I believe that Yi, as the elo better player, is also going to win this matchup. Now we come to Saric against Max Sodlo, and you know already about my love of Max Sodlo, and therefore I believe that he is a very strong player, still underrated in my opinion, and therefore Max Sodlo is going to win round 3. Now we have Sabian against Christiansen, and although Christiansen has improved a lot over the last years, I think that Sabian is going to win this one. Now Shaparinov against Niemann, and Niemann is going to win this one as the better player. Same goes for Aronyan against Mishra, although this one is quite interesting. I believe that experience with Aronyan is going to be enough to win against Mishra. Now we have 3 games left, and the first of these 3 games is Lagarde against Fedoseev, Lagarde being 2,610 elo rated against Fedoseev with over 2700 elo, and I believe that Fedoseev is a more balanced player overall and therefore he's going to win. Now the second last matchup in this round is Alexenko against Cheng. Cheng being the lowest rated player in round 3 right now, and therefore he is going to be losing against Alexenko. And the last one is Vokidov against Erigaisi. And of course, Erigaisi is a very aggressive but very talented player, is going to win this round. Now the remaining players shrink very fast. We're down to the last 32 players. And in our very first matchup, we have Gukesh against Sargassian. And well, this is going to be still an easy matchup for the reigning world champion. Next one is Vityugov against Sindarov. Sindarov still a better player rated, and therefore I believe that Sindarov is going to win this one. And in the next one we have Mamedyarov against Hare Krishna, both players above 2700 rating, and I believe that Hare Krishna is going to win this one. Now this is a very unpopular choice, but I believe that Mamedyarov is past his prime, and I still believe that he's a very good one, but after already 3 matches, I believe, or 2, he actually didn't have to play the first one. I believe that Hare Krishna is going to be better after this marathon. Now we come to the 4th matchup here, which is Van Forest against Abdusattorov, and Abdusattorov is a better player. Next one we have So against Yakuburov, and I believe that now the experience of these grand tournaments, so having won so many tournaments against so good players, is going to be enough for him to beat his opponent from Uzbekistan. Next one we have Liang against Nepo. Now I believe that Nepo is still a very good player, and therefore he is winning against the American youngster. Now we have the next American youngster, Zhang, who is also going to lose against Shit Hambram, because Shit Hambram is so good right now. He's almost, you can say, in his prime, being over 2700 elo rated, so therefore he's going to win against the second American youngster. Now we have Bluebaum against Giri, the first one of the FIDE Grand Swiss against the runner-up. Well, I believe that Giri is going to win this match between them, maybe also in the tiebreaks. Now we have Prag against Dubov, 2 people that have played a lot of games against each other, but I believe that Prag is just right now so good. He has right now a rating of 2770, and Dubov is right now around 100 elo lower, and therefore I believe that Prag is going to win this one. Now we come to Shankland against Rapport. Both players kind of good, but I believe that Rapport is going to win. Next matchup between MVL and Sarin. Although I have rooted earlier on for MVL and his experience, I believe that Sarin will be a better player in the long run, because we are playing now the 4th round and both players are going to suffer with their condition. I believe that Sarin has a better condition than MVL, and therefore he's going to win against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Now Esipenko against Keimer. Keimer, as the better player, is going to win this round. Next one we have Yi against Maxotlo, and again I believe that Maxotlo is going to win. Alright, now we come to Savian against Niemann, American duel, and I believe that Niemann is going to win this one. He still has a lot to improve, but he has improved so much over the last few months, and I believe that Niemann is going to win this one against Savian, who is right now a little bit struggling with his form. Now we come to Aronian against Fedoseev, with Aronian being ahead. Next one is Alexenko against Erigaisi, and that's also the last one. Alexenko, being a former Russian, now playing for Austria against the Indian superstar. And of course, I'm rooting for the win of Erigaisi to have an interesting round number 5. Down to the last 16 players. Gukesh against Sindarov is the first matchup of round number 5. And in this one, I believe that the world champion is going to struggle and therefore will lose after the tiebreaks against Sindarov. Now the second matchup, Hare Krishna against Abdusattorov. Abdusattorov being the better player, also a younger player, therefore Abdusattorov is going to go into the quarterfinals. Now in the third round, So and Nepo, I believe that Nepo is going to win and also qualify to the quarterfinals. In order to get there, also Chidambaram has to beat Giri, and I believe that this will be the case. Now the next one is between Brack and Rapport, and although Rapport has beaten a lot of good players till this point, I believe that Prague is going to win this one. And now we have the third last of these matchups between Siren and Kaimer. I believe that Kaimer, as the better rated player, is going to be successful against the Indian Grandmaster. Now the matchup between Max Sotlo and Niemann, and I'm really deeply rooting for Max Sotlo. I believe that he is playing very nice, beautiful chess. I hope that he wins. Last one is going to be between Aronyan and Erigaisi, and this one is quite obvious that Erigaisi, as a player almost at his peak, is going to win against the Armenian Grandmaster past his prime. And there we are in the quarterfinals, only a few rounds till the final. And this one is between Sindarov and Abdusattorov. Both players are very, very strong, and I think it's kind of a marginal choice, but I believe that Abdusattorov is the better player overall and will win in the tiebreaks. Next one is between Nepo and Chidambaram, and Nepo is a better player overall also again, and therefore is going to win against the Indian Grandmaster. Now we have a battle of youngsters between Pragananda and Kaimer, and I believe that Pragananda is a better player. He has a good score against Kaimer till this point, and I believe that Kaimer is a little bit struggling against these Indian Grandmasters, and therefore I believe that Prag is going to win this one. And the last matchup for the quarterfinals is Max Sotlo against Erigaisi, and Erigaisi is going to win this one and eliminating Max Sotlo. There we are in the half final. Now in the first of these two matchups is Abdusattorov against Nepo, and second one is Prag against Erigaisi. Everybody of these 4 players hasn't qualified for the candidates right now. So the first 3 players are going to qualify, meaning that out of these 4 players, Abdusattorov, Nepo, Prag and Erigaisi, only one of them is not going to qualify. Well, let's look into the first matchup, Abdusattorov against Nepo. And I believe that Abdusattorov is going to win this one after the tiebreaks, meaning Abdusattorov is not only in the finals, but he's also qualifying for the candidates. Now, in the second matchup, we have Prag against Erigaisi, and I have already seen games between these two players, and I know Erigaisi is very famous for his very aggressive playing style, but it's not working very good against very solid opponents that are even better than him maybe. And therefore, I believe that Prag is going to counter his opponent's play and is going to win against Erigaisi. Meaning, the final matchup between these two will be Abdusattorov against Prag, these two are definitely going to qualify for the candidates. Now, who is going to win between Nepo and Erigaisi in a match for place number 3? In this matchup between Nepo and Erigaisi, Nepo is going to win, meaning that the 3 players qualifying for the candidates are Nepo, Abdusattorov, and Prag. Now, the tension rises. Who is going to win the final of the FIDE World Cup 2025 between Abdusattorov and Prag? I believe that the winner of the tournament is going to be Pragananda. Congratulations. So if everything happens as I predict, which is not very likely, then Pragananda is going to win this World Cup. The runner-up is going to be Abdusattorov, and the 3rd place and last spot for the candidates goes to Nepo. If you have any suggestions or any predictions you want to share, please like and subscribe and comment down in the comments. Well, this video has been a lot of preparation work, so please share it with your friends and subscribe. Thanks very much. Bye bye.